Russia's reputation for intelligence mastery is a cornerstone of its military doctrine, yet battlefield realities have exposed critical vulnerabilities across every sector of its armed forces. The Kremlin's capacity to secure its most classified intelligence has been compromised. A pattern of significant data breaches is now undeniable. The result is a recurring strategic liability for Moscow. We now have confirmation of another major breach. This latest exfiltration of data exposes the fragile state of Russia's aerospace manufacturing sector, information the Kremlin would have paid any price to keep concealed. The operational fallout from this intelligence failure is severe, a direct result of an operation conducted by the Ukrainian cyber warfare unit known as Inform Napalm. On November 4th, the entity, self-identifying as a volunteer intelligence community, Inform Napalm, executed a public data drop via its primary web portal. The disclosure confirmed the successful completion of a sophisticated cyber intrusion operation against a key Russian defense contractor. That operation, a joint effort with the cyber analytics cell Phoenix, targeted Russia's Experimental Design Bureau of Motor Engineering, or OKBM. According to Inform Napalm's dossier, OKBM is a critical supplier of components for Russian aerospace and defense platforms, indicating the high-value nature of the acquired intelligence. OKBM operates at the heart of Russia's most sensitive military technology. Its digital defenses were expected to be among the most robust in the nation's security apparatus. Those defenses have been rendered ineffective. Inform Napalm successfully breached OKBM's secure networks, exfiltrating a trove of documents containing highly classified material. A security failure of this magnitude represents a significant blow to the Kremlin's operational security. It exposes a critical gap in Russia's cyber defense posture against persistent Ukrainian cyber warfare initiatives. The strategic damage is amplified by the content of the exfiltrated data, which reveals the severe strain on the military-industrial complex. The infrastructure built by Vladimir Putin is showing systemic failure under the pressure of Western sanctions. The proof is now public. Inform Napalm released the entire data cache. Analysis from United 24 Media offers a preliminary battle damage assessment of the breach, highlighting key discoveries from the data dump. The breach yielded a significant volume of internal OKBM communications concerning the development and production of Russia's next-generation platforms. These include the Su-57 fighter program and the Pak-Day Pozharnyk strategic bomber, the designated successor to Russia's aging nuclear-capable fleet. But the intelligence yield extends further. While this operation is only now becoming public knowledge, intelligence from United 24 Media confirms the compromised documents have been actionable for some time. The data has been in the possession of Ukrainian defense forces and their allies for months, all while Putin continued to project strength regarding these new platforms. Western intelligence has long assessed that these pronouncements were strategic posturing, not operational reality. Analysis begins with the Pak-Da. This is not a black project. Its existence is not classified. In fact, Russia's new bomber program has been on intelligence watch lists since at least November of 2014. At that time, the National Interest published its initial assessment, reporting Russia's ambition to field a stealth bomber capable of challenging top-tier American assets. Specifically, the Pak-Da is intended to be a direct counterpart to the B-2 Spirit and the B-21 Raider, utilizing a subsonic airframe with an extremely low radar cross-section. The design's objective is deep penetration strikes without relying on the brute force velocity of a supersonic dash. Even then, the national interest was flagging significant challenges with the program. Years before this data breach, the outlet noted, "This is easier said than done," questioning Russia's capacity to deliver a bomber to rival the B-2. Moscow's track record in developing and deploying effective stealth aircraft is demonstrably weak. Their sole operational stealth fighter, the Su-57, is assessed to possess the lowest-rated stealth performance among all fifth-generation fighters. The status of the Su-57 program warrants further analysis. For now, the key takeaway is this: the Pak-Da was engineered to be a strategic force multiplier for Russia's long-range bomber fleet. But operational reality hinges on the Pak-Da meeting its formidable hype. Moscow's objective: mass production by 2027, a timeline deemed ambitious even before the November 2024 intelligence assessments. That objective is now critically compromised following a significant data breach executed by the hacktivist group Informed Napalm. Their penetration has revealed they have successfully exfiltrated sensitive technical documentation for components designated 80RSH115 or 80RSH, critical elements of Russia's next-generation bomber. The RSH designator confirms these are geared hinges. These components are vital to the hydraulic drive controlling the PAC-DA's bomb bay doors. Failure of these parts renders the platform inert. Without functional bay doors, the PAC-DA cannot deploy its payload. The contractor for this mission-critical hardware is OKBM, operating under direct contract with the Russian aviation giant Tupolev. The Informed Napalm exfiltration lays bare the covert production schedule. Leaked documents confirm OKBM's manufacturing phases are slated between 2024 and 2027, a timeframe that directly aligns with Moscow's aggressive 2027 deadline for achieving mass production of the PAC-DA. The strategic dilemma is this. United 24 media reports the state contract between Tupolev and OKBM designates these schematics as top secret. The contract includes a termination clause for any confidentiality breach. Informed Napalm has not just breached, but shattered that confidentiality, exposing every detail of the hinge mechanism. The compromised data includes everything OKBM is developing for Tupolev, down to the granular level of design, documents, and operational photographs detailing the hinge mechanics. This entire operation was classified, and its exposure constitutes a catastrophic security failure, triggering the breach of contract clause. This could force Tupolev to terminate its agreement with OKBM. While OKBM faces financial repercussions, the strategic blow to Russia is far more severe. Termination would compel Tupolev to source a new contractor to engineer and manufacture the specialized hinges for the PAC-DA. This forces Tupolev into a strategic dilemma: pivot to a new manufacturer, incurring significant program delays, as the classified components from OKBM require a complete redesign, or proceed with the current design, fully aware that its vulnerabilities are now known to Ukraine and its Western allies. Neither option is strategically viable for Tupolev. For OKBM, the operational fallout is just beginning. The threat to its Tupolev contract is not the only repercussion. The damage assessment now extends to Russia's Su-57 program. The intelligence now confirms that this so-called fifth-generation fighter is also compromised. United 24 media reports the leaked files show OKBM holds a parallel contract to manufacture a similar component for the Su-57's internal weapons base, a part designated RSH-65. This is a gearbox joint system integral to the Su-57's weapon bay actuators. The breach confirms OKBM's deep involvement in critical state defense projects. These are projects under direct Russian state defense orders. Now, as a result of Informed Napalm's operation, the contract details are exposed globally. The data includes granular financial reports, revealing the exact cost Russia is allocating to maintain the Su-57's weapons deployment systems. The exposure of this sensitive financial data completes a picture of total operational compromise for Moscow, for Ukraine and its allies. The intelligence windfall is immense. They now possess intimate knowledge of two of Russia's most advanced airframes, from component specifications to the identity of the manufacturer. Identifying the contractor alone creates a critical vulnerability, presenting the West with a clear entity to target a point we will return to. This data breach represents an embarrassment of riches for Ukrainian intelligence and a profound strategic failure for Russia, as it exposes yet another layer of covert activity. The Kremlin is actively facilitating sanctions evasion. The Informed Napalm data reveals that beyond the PAC-DA and Su-57 contracts, OKBM is procuring prohibited CNC machinery from multiple foreign sources. The acquisitions include the Hartford HC-MC-110AG and the Johnford SL-50. Both systems originate from Taiwan. Also on the procurement list, The Serbian-manufactured grind XBSD 700U CNC grinder. This finding alone signals a significant breach in international controls. Specialized engineering firms require this exact type of machinery. Critically, the leaked intelligence confirms OKBM acquired this hardware utilizing direct subsidies from the Russian Ministry of Industry and Trade. This is a clear case of state-sponsored sanctions circumvention. The operational directive is clear. The Kremlin will finance any clandestine scheme necessary to secure critical equipment for its industrial base. Equipment that directly or indirectly fuels Putin's war effort. Russia is operating a sophisticated and layered sanctions evasion network. As reported by Sky News in June, Moscow maintains a web of shell corporations and third-party intermediaries to procure restricted components and machinery from nations officially embargoing direct sales to Russia. The United Kingdom alone has been an unwitting source for radar parts and critical components, along with electronic systems integral to drone and aircraft production. Other group of 7 nations have been similarly compromised. Ensnared by Russia's cunning evasion network, the Inform Napalm data breach confirms these covert operations remain active and successful. This may appear to be a tactical victory for Moscow. The public exposure of OKBM is secondary. The primary objective, acquiring necessary components, is still being met through these illicit channels. However, this apparent success masks a critical vulnerability revealed by the extreme measures Russia is forced to take. The reason for this high-stakes campaign is singular and stark. Its entire aerospace manufacturing sector remains critically dependent on foreign parts and technology originating from the very nations imposing sanctions. The strategic implication is undeniable. Without this Western hardware, the entire industry faces total collapse, likely terminating the Su-57 PAC-DA program and all associated projects involving OKBM and its counterparts. This is not a future threat. As the Inform Napalm intelligence highlights, Russia's dependency on Western technology is an immediate and escalating crisis, one with severe operational blowback. The internal audit reveals a critical fact. Aircraft production deadlines are now being systematically missed due to a deficit in machine tool capacity, a direct consequence of key global manufacturers exiting the Russian market. The cyber operative group further notes that Moscow is still successfully procuring tools and equipment from European and Asian sources, indicating that while sanctions are having a measurable impact, the net is not yet tight enough. It also exposes a severe strategic vulnerability for Russia. The bottom line is stark. Without Western technology, Russia's aerospace industry is grounded. The Inform Napalm breach has laid bare the fragility of this critical sector and one of its keystone engineering firms. The immediate question becomes, what are the strategic consequences of this intelligence leak for Russia? That question has a definitive answer. As previously noted, Inform Napalm disseminated this intel to the Ukrainian military and its allies months prior to public disclosure. This intelligence did not go unnoticed by the European Union. United 24 Media reports that OKBM was specifically targeted in the EU's 19th round of sanctions against Russia, a direct result, it appears, of the Inform Napalm intelligence. It is due to this cyber operation that the EU and Western allies now understand the pivotal role OKBM plays in Russia's most sensitive aerospace manufacturing programs. Neutralizing this single entity is projected to inflict significant damage on Russia's capabilities. The Kremlin's ability to funnel subsidies to OKBM for procuring black market equipment from unwilling nations is now severely compromised. Given OKBM's critical dependency on Western hardware, the access denial enforced by the latest EU sanctions could prove fatal, cutting off its supply of essential machining equipment necessary for producing components like bomb bay hinges and other critical systems for Russia's armaments industry. The EU's 19th sanctions package was formally adopted on October 23rd. Its scope extends far beyond the targeting of OKBM alone. According to the Council of the European Union, this latest directive targets 69 additional individuals and entities identified as supporting Putin's war machine, with Belarus also facing new punitive measures. engineered to compel the nation to restrict its support for Russia. Spearheading the initiative, Kaja Kallas, the EU's High Representative for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy, and chair of the Foreign Affairs Council, laid out the strategic objectives. We have just deployed our 19th package of sanctions. Its primary targets: Russian energy, financial institutions, crypto exchanges, and key entities within China, among other high-value targets. Kallas confirmed the EU is also restricting the movements of Russian diplomats as a direct countermeasure to destabilization operations. It is becoming increasingly difficult for Putin to finance his war. Every euro we deny Russia is a resource denied to his front lines. Kallas concluded her statement with a stark warning. The 19th package will not be the last. This raises a critical question. Is this an isolated incident, or have previous breaches in Russian cyber defenses exposed assets that were later neutralized by Western sanctions? Intelligence suggests this is not the first time, and it will not be the last, as long as cyber warfare groups like Inform Napalm continue their offensive operations. From a strategic perspective, these new sanctions are poised to deliver a crippling blow to a Russian aircraft manufacturing industry already on its knees. In June, United 24 Media corroborated intelligence from the Institute for the Study of War, or ISW, assessing that Russia is struggling to escalate warplane production under the weight of Western sanctions. According to the ISW, Russia has constructed or expanded no fewer than 5 structures at its Kazan aviation plant, adding an extra 19,000 square meters of operational space in the process. Overhead reconnaissance confirms this construction took place between the summer of 2024 and May 2025. The ISW reveals Russia prioritized this facility because of its critical role in producing Russia's strategic bombers and helicopter fleets. Further expansion at Kazan is slated for 2026, but these physical gains mean little when economic warfare is strangling Russia's aviation sector. The expanded Kazan plant is failing to meet Kremlin production quotas, bogged down by severe labor shortages that prevent modernization and scaled production. This vulnerability was exposed in 2024 when Kazan managed to deliver a mere 2Tu-160M2 and 2Tu-160M bombers. A critical lack of components is compounding the crisis, as the ISW confirms. Sanctions, combined with parts and labor shortages, will continue to degrade Russia's aircraft production capabilities, even as Moscow desperately works to expand its physical infrastructure. And this is where the OKBM leak transitions from a tactical humiliation to a strategic victory. The intelligence has enabled Europe to target a company directly involved in manufacturing the parts Russia's aviation sector desperately needs. An industry already failing to meet Putin's wartime demands now faces an even greater challenge. Incrementally, Western sanctions are having an effect. However, that impact is not as decisive as it needs to be. A key takeaway from the Inform Napalm leak is that Russia continues to exploit backdoors to circumvent the economic blockade. As vital as new sanctions packages are, especially when targeting critical companies like OKBM, their effectiveness is ultimately determined by the strength of their enforcement. The new Voice of Ukraine reinforces this point in its analysis of the OKBM leaks, stating the disclosure raises complex policy questions for Western governments and export control authorities. How to tighten controls on high-precision machine tools, and how to detect and neutralize intermediary procurement channels, and how to synchronize secondary sanctions to prevent circumvention. Euractiv echoes this concern in a strategic analysis published after the EU deployed its 19th sanctions round, authored by Rasmus Grand Bertelsen. The article argues that a more aggressive enforcement posture is required on the EU's part to maximize the impact of its latest package, as well as all preceding ones. Deficient implementation and the exploitation of loopholes have compromised past packages, allowing Russia to acquire billions of dollars in restricted equipment and components that should be off-limits. The situation is dire. Bertelsen reports that approximately 90% of the foreign components found in Russian armaments originate from nations actively sanctioning Russia. The economic pressure is holding. Bertelsen confirms Russia's evasive maneuvers, deploying a network of shell companies to circumvent these restrictions, and leveraging trading firms in nations like China for third-party acquisitions. This covert supply chain carries a heavy price. Moscow is now paying between 2 to 5 times the market rate for these critical parts. Even with these backdoors, the financial bleed is significant. The sanctions are successfully siphoning funds from Russia's war effort, but Kyiv's objective is absolute: to sever Moscow's access entirely. From Kyiv's perspective, every ruble that cannot be spent on Western tech is a tactical victory capital that is either frozen or diverted to less effective domestic projects. Berthelsen has outlined a strategy to amplify the EU's economic warfare. The first directive: establish standardized EU-wide enforcement protocols requiring immediate intelligence sharing. The formation of regional enforcement hubs is critical to choking off Moscow's supply lines and sealing circumvention routes. Success hinges on unprecedented coordination within the EU. The next phase of pressure is imposing restrictions on Russia's access to cloud services and critical software, compounded by a denial of all technical support. This will cripple their ability to maximize any acquired hardware. The strategy is sound, but operational execution by the EU and its allies remains the critical, unanswered variable. However, tightening economic sanctions may be a secondary threat. The primary concern for the Kremlin is a different kind of breach. The OKBM data compromise is not an isolated incident. It's the latest in a string of public humiliations for Russian intelligence. In August, Ukrainian operatives acquired a trove of classified documents on Russia's new nuclear submarine, the Knyaz Pozarsky, exposing the identities of the entire crew, full weapon system schematics, and operational combat manuals. This level of exposure is what truly alarms Moscow. The OKBM leak confirms a pattern of catastrophic security failures, delivering Russia's most guarded secrets directly into Ukrainian hands. Every new Russian military development appears vulnerable to Ukrainian infiltration or cyber attack, indicating a systemic flaw in their security apparatus. A flaw they appear powerless to correct. Even if Moscow could miraculously seal these breaches, it may already be too late. The reason? The OKBM leak is merely the opening salvo. Intelligence from United 24 Media confirms that both Inform Napalm and Phoenix have designated this data dump as the first in a planned series of disclosures. The objective: to systematically expose the vulnerabilities deep within Russia's aerospace manufacturing sector. Any countermeasure Russia deploys now is futile. The breach is catastrophic. The intel is secured by Inform Napalm, which means it is already in the possession of Ukraine and its strategic partners. Moscow has lost initiative and can only await the next revelation. Further strategic embarrassment for Putin appears inevitable, compounding the operational setbacks already being delivered by Ukrainian forces. Beyond the OKBM compromise, a Ukrainian double agent has executed a brilliant deception operation against the entire FSB. We deconstruct that mission next. Subscribe to Defense Explained for ongoing analysis of Russia's cascading security failures. Thank you for your attention.